A couple of weeks ago, following a Gold Coast brawl between two motorcycle clubs that led to 18 people being charged, the Queensland Government announced controversial new anti-bikie laws, selling them with this TV ad.
Families ran as the men threw tables.
A single punch that ignited a potential bikie war.
The bikie wars have claimed an innocent member of the public.
Criminal bikie gang violence has spilled over into our communities. That's why tough new laws now target their illegal activities, not law-abiding bike riders, making Queensland safer for everyone. Criminal bikie gangs. We've drawn the line.
That ad looked like the world's most boring version of Underbelly. And that's an achievement. If it's its job to make us scared of bikies, Russell, shouldn't it ever contain more violence, more drama?
Well, I don't know that its job is to make us scared of bikies. It's about saying that the Queensland government's doing something about it. And perhaps if it had more violence, more drama, then it could be accused of being propaganda anyway, because it's something like 0.6% of crime in Queensland is from so-called bikie gangs.
But it's bogus. Like, if you're in an election and you use newspaper clippings in an ad, you actually have to use real newspaper clippings and source them. All these clippings are rubbish. Not one of them is a newspaper clipping, except for the middle one that has bikie gang war erupts. And they've taken off the last two words of the headline, which were in Melbourne.
Yeah. This isn't a fear ad, though. This isn't about bikies. This is about law and order. This is a political ad for the Queensland government saying, you know, and what they're showing is that we're restoring law and order. I mean, what a Conservative government does when their economy is in the toilet is they start a war so that someone else can be blamed for the crime.
Yeah.
And that's what they're very much doing, is they've got someone who, they've got a group that's really visible, that people, they look like the black hat bad guys from the cowboy westerns. So it's a very visible campaign that allows them to show, look, we're taking, you know, as Russell said, you know, we're taking a positive stance, we're doing something.
And when it comes to political advertising, which this is, being seen to have done it is almost as important to have done it, and that's why they run the ads.
And you choose the softest target, but as you said, it's 0.6% of crimes are committed by bikies, yet he spent $800,000 of taxpayers' money on this. You know,
I think you're the first person ever to accuse the bikies of being a soft target.
No, a soft target.
And ironically, Dee is speaking from the inside because her husband is a bikie.
So, yes. Right. So, no, they're not all bad.
Yes, and that's the problem, is that, you know, they use this phrase, the 1%ers, or the 99% of people, they're actually just middle-aged men that like bikes and trying to escape from their wives. And they drive, they're not all criminals, you know, but they've been branded on television, they've been branded in the media as all criminals.
That's what the CEO of Harley-Davidson said. He said, I don't sell motorbikes. I sell the ability for a 43-year-old accountant to get dressed up in leather and drive through small country towns and scare the shit out of the locals. That is what I'm selling.
That's Harley-Davidson.
On Friday, the Courier Mail ran a story about a memo telling Queensland Police to dress neatly and pay particular attention to their hairstyling when dealing with bikies. Get back, I've got a comb and I'm not afraid to use it. Todd, how important is branding to the police?
Yeah, it's very important for institutions in general. It'd be fair to say that society's lost a lot of faith in institutions like churches, the education system, government, and police. And uniforms, I mean, police wear uniforms for the same reason that bikies wear uniforms, and that's for unity and for belonging. And uniforms are very interesting with them being neatly dressed. From a psychological point of view, it signifies authority, status, and control. And it's very important for them to look neat.
Under the new laws, 26 bikie clubs have lost their right to associate, which makes it difficult for them to organise a public defence. But they haven't been entirely silent. The Brisbane Bandidos announced they were disbanding and handed in their colours.
Cast aside under the weight of the law, these patches and colours belonging to the Maruka chapter of the Bandidos are headed back to Bandidos headquarters. So much for the gang's motto, Forever Bandidos.
They're surrendering all of their Bandidos insignia, which represents their membership, to the national chapter.
Now, clearly those colours were spread out for the cameras. You could have just stacked them in a cardboard box for the mailman. Bikies are also saying they're moving south. Dan, what's the tactical value in sending the message that you're playing nice?
Oh, it's absolutely a show, and there's multiple audiences at stake. You know, what they've got is they're engaging the legal community, because what they're showing is an historic precedent of towing the line and doing what they're told. That'll come in handy when it goes to court, and it will go to court. You know, the other thing that they're doing is they're reassuring, you know, they're building some community support by saying, look, how well behaved we can be when we're asked to be.
I thought maybe they were just tired of wearing like a fast food joint logo on their back. I mean, the first time I saw the Bandidos thing, it actually came from advertising, right? It came from the 1960s advertising for Frito-Lays. That Mexican carrying the machete and a gun is actually from an ad back at the time when people weren't politically correct and making ads for crisps. I think it is interesting that the whole strategy with gangs now, or with bikies, is a kind of plain packaging of bikies. You know, strip them of all colours, strip them of their sense of belonging, and hopefully that will have less of an impact.
You're right, Todd. You are right. And before you know it, the government is going to make them wear high-vis vests. Yeah? And I just think it's just nonsense. They should be left alone.
Really?
Absolutely. Can't bear it.
Really?
Wow.
Wow. I never think that you would be on the side of the bikies.
Totally. I am completely on the side of the bikies. The notion that a government will legislate and discriminate via legislation and think that that's okay, and what we know is that then opens up a door for all sorts of things that can happen. Okay, if you have done a crime, then clearly the law will deal with you. Yeah. But actually what you're wearing and what you're driving shouldn't mean, oh, that person obviously is about to commit a crime.
Yes. And I agree with you. It's cultural profiling.
Yes, it is absolutely.
It is nonsense it shouldn't be happening here. It should not be happening here.
And Queensland should know better, because out of all states, they're the ones who've known what political power, when it goes too far, can do to a state.
Look, if you're going to ban some clothes in Queensland, start with Crocs. The crackdown has also included the announcement of a bikie-only Supermax jail, where crims would potentially have to wear pink prison garb. Who doesn't love a pink bikie? In a sign this whole thing could descend into farce, Queensland police were embarrassed last week after it got out they questioned a man for wearing a Sons of Anarchy t-shirt. Not knowing that's a TV show. The Fonz is now in hiding. Meanwhile, the Australian Motorcycle Council has announced a fighting fund. Lawyers are advising they spend the money on a High Court challenge rather than a PR and advertising war with the Queensland government. Now, Russell, you'd never tell them to not advertise, would you?
Well, I would absolutely tell them to advertise. So, I mean, the fact that a policeman has picked up someone in a Sons of Anarchy t-shirt just shows what nonsense this is and shows how dangerous it is. There's also a fantastic advertising campaign in the notion that if you discriminate, it can have despicable ends. So there's a very powerful ad campaign that they should be running as well.
Good on you. I don't know who you are, but good on you.
More advertising.
The only thing that I can work out is that on the way in here tonight, a bikie killed Russell and is wearing his skin. Gruen Planet, your home, your dream.